Well, Tony Abbott's wife Margie has broken her silence to defend her husband against claims he's anti-women. In a very personal tribute, she describes the opposition leader as an optimist who gets women, is a soft touch when it comes to his daughters, and would rather watch Downton Abbey than the footy. And I'm pleased to say Margie and Tony Abbott join me now. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Lisa.
Morning,
Mr.
Lisa.
Abbott, Downton Abbey, your rugby mates will be crying in their beer. What is that about?
Well, look, I guess I've just changed over the years, haven't I? But look, I still enjoy watching the football, but I did really fall in love with Downton Abbey. It was a great program about the things that are best in our nature.
He's a softie, isn't he, Mark?
He is, absolutely, Lisa. He is a softie, and dare I say it, I didn't win the battle. We watched Downton Abbey.
Well, you enjoyed it too, darling.
Absolutely.
But you wanted to watch the footy.
Well, I think the important thing, Lisa, was that we were together on the lounge, and you know, that doesn't happen too often, so we made the most of that opportunity.
Yeah. You've actually kept your distance, quite a healthy distance, from the political landscape.
Yeah.
Excuse me, over the years. You made the odd appearance during election campaigns.
Yep.
Why have you decided to pen this letter to Australia?
Well, it has become clear to me over recent times, Lisa, that claims are being made that are wrong. And as the woman who spent the last 24 years of her life married to this man, there were two things that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the fact that we are ordinary people in an extraordinary situation. You know, we pay a mortgage, we brought up 3 kids, you know, we balance the budgets. But also I wanted to talk about the fact that Tony has 3 sisters, he has a strong, capable wife, and he has been part of a team that has raised 3 beautiful young women who are doing everything that young women should be doing. They're educated, they're making a way in the world. And so I felt that I wanted to add some balance to these claims that are being made, Lisa. It was simply that.
Mr. Abbott, you are surrounded by strong women. That is clearly evidenced, and we have heard about that before. But Margie, I have to ask you, the Australian public and Australian women have had 19 years to get to know Mr. Abbott, and yet the polls consistently show that a significant number of women just don't connect with him. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think politics is a tough business, Lisa, and to be successful in politics, you have to have a tough exterior, and I think that applies to whatever your gender. So seeing the real person is often very difficult, and sitting in front of a camera is perhaps not the best opportunity to show that softer side. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, Lisa, because he is everything that I could have wanted in a husband, and as far as my daughters are concerned, well, they're in love with their father. Tony Abbott gets women, and you know, as I may say, that the women in Tony Abbott's life certainly get him. So perhaps less of the camera and more of the women. Can I say that?
You've made it very clear that you are no fan of the vitriol and the very personal attacks that, particularly in recent times, have become a major part of the political landscape. Do you ever think that your husband goes too far, and do you ever call him on it?
Look, there have been occasions when I have said perhaps it's best to say nothing, but at the end of the day, he is his own man, as I am my own woman, and he is the politician in the family, and I make that point constantly. When I travel Australia with Tony, I talk to people and I say, he is the politician, he is responsible for outcomes, and I suppose ultimately what he says. I know the man in another context, and I suppose, as I say, Lisa, that's what I wanted to do. I just want to add a bit of balance to this, and to present the fact that he is, you know, a pretty ordinary bloke, no airs and graces, who enjoys time with his family and is surrounded by strong, capable women.
Mr. Abbott, there will be some people watching this now, seeing what you're both doing today as a diversionary tactic. After, you know, not an easy week for you. You were fairly quiet after Alan Jones made those comments about the Prime Minister's father. Is it a diversionary tactic?
Well, Margie has wanted to do this for some time, Lisa. I mean, Margie and I were sitting around the breakfast table a couple of Sundays ago, and she said, look, this is just wrong and it's unfair. I want to say something. Now, you're right, Lisa. Margie is a private person, and She and I have both tried to keep our family life separate from my public life, but just for once, she thought that it was important to speak out.
You did cop a lot of criticism about your initial reaction, which wasn't condemnation of Alan Jones's comments about the Prime Minister's father. Do you think that part of the image problem, if that's what people are saying you have with women, is your strong friendship with someone like Alan Jones, who very recently said that, quote, women are destroying the joint?
Look, Alan speaks for himself. Yes, I get on well with Alan. He's a friend of mine.
He's a mentor, though, isn't he?
Look, Alan is a friend of mine. I've known him for 30 years now. But he's his own man. I mean, John Howard is a friend and mentor of mine. He's his own man. I've had lots of friends and people who I've learnt from over the years. I think Alan said the wrong thing. It was very wrong. He's admitted it. He's been universally condemned for what he said. I think people want to move on from that now, Lisa. I think that people want to hear from me and from the Prime Minister and from everyone in public life, what are we going to do to make their life better? And that's what I'm focused on.
Margie, you're clearly a very strong woman. The Prime Minister is a very strong woman. Do you admire the way she's handled the situation over the last week?
Look, I think, if I can say, Lisa, family should always be off limits, and so I feel for the Prime Minister in the sense that she has lost her dad, and he was obviously a very important person in her life, as is Tony is in the life of my daughters. So yes, I think as a human being, and that is certainly a very natural response.
We've got to know Mr Abbott quite well over the last 5 years. He's remained true to the Today Show. He's been coming in here just about every Friday for the last 5 years. Well, he likes the argy-bargy.
Good weeks and bad weeks. I'm always here, Lisa.
You are, and we thank you for that. Now, a couple of years ago, Margie, he promised us that he was a really good ironer, and we got in the iron and the ironing board, and he wasn't bad, and he actually promised at the time that he was going to start chipping in a bit more at home. We need to now hold him to account. Has he done what he promised?
Has he? Well, look, absolutely. I give him a tea towel, a tablecloth. Lisa, you know, ironing is probably the last thing we worry about in the Abbott household.
But probably a tea towel is one thing I could iron successfully.
Yeah.
Not that we normally bother with ironing tea towels. At Downton Abbey they do that, but not at our place.
In fact, I have the ironing board right beside the television set, so next time Downton Abbey's on, the iron will be warming up.
You've got a deal.
Absolutely.
Margie and Tony Abbott, we really appreciate very much you coming in this morning.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa.
Over to you, Deb.